Hello dear viewers, a very warm welcome to our channel. It's very good to have you here. In this video, we are going to have a look at top symptoms of bad torque converter. If you have been experiencing some unusual behaviors while driving your automatic vehicle, it might be time to check your torque converter. Let's explore some of the top symptoms of a bad torque converter. Before we jump into the symptoms, let's quickly recap what a torque converter does. The torque converter is a fluid coupling that connects the engine to the transmission, allowing the engine to continue running while the vehicle is at stop. It also multiplies engine torque, providing smooth acceleration. Now let's have a look at some of the top symptoms that indicate bad torque converter. 1. Slipping transmission. If you notice that your car feels like it is losing power during acceleration, or if the engine revs higher without corresponding speed increase of the vehicle, this could indicate a failing torque converter. This happens because the torque converter is not transferring power effectively from the engine to the transmission. So, slipping transmission is the number one indication of a failing torque converter. Torque converter is there to transfer engine power to the transmission. In some cases, it even multiplies the torque that is supplied from the engine and supply the multiplied torque to the transmission. Now, if you accelerate, if you depress the gas pedal, but the vehicle is not responsive enough, that could be an indication of a failing torque converter. The other symptom is overheating. If your engine fluid is getting too hot, it could be due to a malfunctioning torque converter. When the torque converter fails, it can cause excessive friction, fluid friction that generates heat. If you see the temperature gauge rising or if the check engine light comes on, it's time for a closer inspection. Another symptom of a failing torque converter is shuddering or vibrations while driving. You might feel a shaking sensation when accelerating or maintaining speed. This shuddering can occur when the torque converter clutch engages and disengages erratically due to wear or damage. So shuddering or vibration is another symptom of a failing torque converter. Unusual noises are also red flag. If you hear grinding, whining, or rattling sound coming from your transmission area, it could indicate issues with your torque converter. These noises often signal that internal components are wearing out or that there is inadequate fluid circulation inside the torque converter. So unusual noise heard from the torque converter could be an indication of a failing torque converter. The fifth symptom is poor acceleration. Poor acceleration can be a major symptom. If your vehicle feels sluggish or takes longer than usual to pick up speed, it might be due to a failing torque converter. This can happen when the converter is unable to efficiently transfer power from the engine to the wheels. So, these are some of the top symptoms of a bad torque converter. If you experience any of these issues, it is best to consult with a professional mechanic as soon as possible. Ignoring these signs could lead to some significant damage and costly repair down the line. Now that we have covered the symptoms, let's talk about how to diagnose a bad torque converter. The first thing you can do is check the transmission fluid. Start by checking your transmission fluid level and also give close attention to the condition of the transmission fluid. It should be bright red and clear. If it is dark or if it smells like a burnt smell, that is a signal of trouble. So you can diagnose bad torque converter by simply looking at the condition of the transmission fluid. Also try to listen to noises. With the engine running, listen closely for unusual sound coming from the transmission area. Test drive can also prove if there is a problem with the torque converter or not. Take your vehicle for a test drive. Pay attention to any slipping, shuddering, or vibration, especially during acceleration. And in some cases, if you have an OBD2 scanner and if there are registered trouble code, check for any error codes that might indicate transmission issues. Understanding what causes torque converter failure can really help you prevent it in the first place. So let's have a look at some of the common issues that can lead to a failing torque converter. One is overheating. As we have discussed earlier, excessive heat that is generated inside the torque converter can damage internal components. So anything that leads to overheating is very dangerous for torque. That could be caused by excessive load on the torque converter stall. If there is some kind of mismatch between the transmission and the engine speed, that can lead to fluid friction rise in the torque converter, that can lead to overheating. So overheating is one of the main damaging cause of torque converter internal components. The other cause of torque converter failure is fluid contamination. Dirty or contaminated fluid can lead to poor performance, and it can lead to accelerated wear. So fluid that is contaminated by lots of debris, if we don't regularly replace the transmission fluid, that can lead to contamination. So dirty or contaminated fluid can lead to poor performance and accelerated wear. And worn out bearings can also be caused. The bearings inside the torque converter can wear out over time, leading to noise and inefficient transmission. And mechanical failures are sometimes to happen. Crack or damage to the torque converter housing can also lead to failure. So how can torque converter failure be avoided? To keep your torque converter in good shape, there are some preventive maintenance tips that you can take care of. Regularly check the fluid. Regularly change the fluid as well. Change your transmission fluid at manufacturer recommended intervals. Always keep it clean and make sure you are following regular maintenance schedule. Check for any leaks. Regular inspection of your torque converter and transmission will show you signs of transmission fluid leak. So always have them repaired immediately if you happen to notice that there are leaks. And try to avoid overheating as much as possible. If you are towing, for example, if your vehicle is towing extra heavy load, if you are carrying heavy load, be mindful of your engine temperature. That can lead to engine temperature rise. It can also make the fluid inside the torque converter to overheat, leading to torque converter failure. Address any known issues promptly. Don't ignore warning signs. The sooner you address them, the better. So these are some of the things that you can do in order to prolong the service life of your torque converter. Well, dear viewers, that is all we have for you. Thanks for sticking around for our deep dive into torque converters. Remember, staying informed about your vehicles can save you time and money in the long run. So if you have more questions or topics that you would like us to get covered in this channel, drop them in the comments below. If you are new here, do consider subscribing. If you turn on notification, you will be the first to get notified whenever we come up with another video. Until then, stay safe.